Thank you, everybody, for choosing to listen to our Global from Asia show. We have Augustas on the show. It's been great, man. We shared a podcast episode on Danny's show, and I know you do quite amazing events. I think you did one of the last Amazon in-person events of 2020, or who knows how long. But it's great to have you on the show with us. And do you mind just giving us a little bit of background about you and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me on the show. And yes, I believe that the European Seller Conference, which we organized in Prague in Europe in mid of March, was probably the last in-person event for Amazon in Amazon industry. And our event was affected by all the regulations which were implemented during the lockdown. But to give a background who I am, I'm originally from Lithuania, from Eastern Europe, and actually I have also international family like you. My wife is German. We are now staying in Spain, and I traveled a lot in my life. I used to be a website developer for a long time, basically digital nomad already 15 years ago, when this kind of description didn't exist. And then about 4 years ago, I jumped into Amazon industry because I was interested in creating FBA business for myself, but I didn't really have money. But I saw a lot of people were talking about selling in Europe. And I decided to create a virtual summit, which I believe was probably the first in the industry virtual summit for Amazon sellers. And 4 years ago, I kind of came into the scene by creating online event with 26 speakers, and we were talking about selling on Amazon in European marketplaces. And since then, I created 6 virtual summits, and then also now I have created also 5 in-person events, which were happening mostly in Europe and in Israel. So my passion is organizing in-person events at the moment, but due to the current situation in the world, I had to kind of pause that, but I was focusing on creating content on Orange Klik's YouTube channel, where I'm not a seller myself. I'm just kind of a journalist. I'm interviewing experts like yourself, and just I like to connect with people in the industry and also to bring the knowledge of the experts to the Amazon sellers. So this is my mission here.
Cool. It's a big important mission. So thanks for your help in the community and everything you do. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and I definitely want to link to we just did an interview on your channel on Orange Klik about China and China sourcing, but I think it's interesting for us to turn the tables, with Europe. We've also had some talks about Europe in the past, many years ago, but I think it's getting more and more important to understand this European market. And I always joke, for those that know me on the show, as a stupid American or ignorant American, like we can't point to a country on the map, and we lump Europe all together into like one kind of like area. But obviously, I think Europe to me seems like one of the most complex markets in my mind, because there's so many cultures. I think we talked about this in a private call about languages and payments, and I don't know. I feel like I know China. People think China's hard, but it's all like one big kind of like currency and country. So can you give us just some little bit of like
I think
business in Europe?
Yeah, I think I understand where you're going. Actually, when I started to organize events, I traveled a lot in my life, more than 60 countries. And for me, thinking is without borders. So when I started to do in-person events, my idea was to bring European people into, let's say, this European Seller Conference in Prague, which I want to make it the most important for sellers in Europe. But I realized that it's very difficult to convince people, even, let's say, Prague is in Czech Republic and neighboring countries, Germany, but there are a lot of kind of obstacles to bring German person to an event in Prague. So one thing is there is a border. Physically, there is nothing. You just drive on the highway and there is no kind of control, nothing. But mentally, there is still a border. It's a different country, different even currency and different language. So I have to convince, let's say, a German person to travel maybe a few hundred kilometers to an event. And plus, we speak very often different languages. Of course, there are some countries which share similar languages, but still not all Germans speak English, and my events are in English. So it's quite complex. When I'm thinking, let's say, events in US, you can do event in West Coast, but then for someone from East Coast, it will be not a big issue to fly those couple of hours to the event. But in Europe, even flying 1 hour or driving a few hours across the border can be kind of mental, because there are a lot of things happening inside this country in Europe. There are, I don't even know how many countries, 30 or 40. And if there is an e-commerce scene or Amazon sellers, there is probably a community in that country. They talk in their own language and discuss issues. Maybe there are events, but these events again in their own country, own language. And now when I organize events, I try to dig out these European talents, and it's quite difficult because first you have to get to some contact person who knows the space locally. So what I want to say, when it's, let's say, in US, it's one territory, one country, one language. So it feels kind of everything is connected. But in Europe, every country is still like living its own life. And very often across the border, there will be completely different, cultural things which people do and eat differently, different dishes.
Okay.
So, and talking about e-commerce and Amazon selling, here we have like VAT, which is a big taxes, value-added tax, which is also quite complex and very dangerous if you don't comply with you will get fines if you don't comply properly with the rules.
Agreed. Yeah, I know VAT is always at the top of my list with selling in Europe is the complexity. But before we get into that, I get the chance to say I don't know what I'm talking about with the Schengen
Zone.
Schengen.
All right, yeah, I can.
Maybe these Americans or your Asia business people that don't really know Europe, like what is it exactly? I think you can travel between each other without a visa, right? Like I think that's.
So of course I'm not like I haven't studied all this, but as far as I understand, so Schengen Zone, some countries signed this Schengen agreement, and Schengen agreement I think means that there are no borders. Basically, you drive between Germany and France, and there is no border. But for example, UK is not inside Schengen, so when you enter UK, there will be a passport control. So for me, as a European, if countries in Schengen, I understand that there will be no control kind of one way, and I enter. But UK is outside Schengen. There is another people maybe mix Eurozone. So zone or like countries which have euro as a currency. And there is no like formula which country has currency or not. You have to look on the maybe list on Wikipedia or somewhere, because sometimes you are in Germany and then you drive into Poland, which is neighbor country. There is still Polish zloty, their original currency, and then you drive to Lithuania, my home country. We have euro, and then so euro is So maybe when you hear Eurozone or Eurozone, it's the countries which kind of took euro as a currency, but it doesn't have anything to deal with borders. And then there is European Union, which is not equal to Schengen Zone. So like
it's
UK was in European Union. Maybe now I think they are not anymore because of this Brexit. But UK was in European Union, but was not in Schengen Zone. And there are some other countries which are not like, they are not in both. And European Union, I think, has now 28 or 29 countries. And the main maybe advantage is that kind of European Union passport holder, one of the 28 or 29 countries passport holder, he can travel, like there is a free movement of goods. And so if businesses are doing, if there is business transaction between, let's say, German and French business, they will not deal with this VAT, because business transactions, if they are both registered for paying VAT in their own countries, they will have zero VAT between like this international transaction, something like that. So
Okay.
it's quite complex, but I see
Yeah,
that
thank.
people, very often mix Schengen zone with European
All right.
Union. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know to ask that question. So now I understand more. Thank you. This is I think listeners will enjoy this. We put this also on WeChat social media for people in China behind the firewall, so they probably don't get this kind of insights either. Which you know, which gives me a question. I'm kind of slipping into my notes. I hope it's okay to add, but you know, uh, consumers in Europe, made in China, made in, what's the general sentiment? I guess they know so much is probably made in China anyway. They don't mind, they
Yeah.
like
So I
some,
think,
their own.
I understand. So I think here we cannot use the word Europe, because Europe has like this bunch of countries, 30, 40. And for example, Eastern European countries, they used to be in Soviet Union, and I grew up in Soviet Union, and we were always kind of growing in a low, like not having money state, and we were looking for cheap things. Even now, I would say in my country, it's very popular, these discounts in the shops, and people are looking for the cheapest, not necessarily the good quality products. So even my
Mm,
friends are still buying some, instead of buying, I don't know, scooter for, let's say, $300 or 200, I don't know, 60 euros in Europe from the retailer, they would buy from China $100 cheaper with all the shipping. They will not have, let's say, warranty in Europe for that, but they
yeah,
would want to save this $100. So they are looking for to buy maybe the same quality and cheaper. But for example, Germans, I lived also in Germany, I noticed that they are, for them, brand is very important. A few years ago, when our child was a baby, I bought some bamboo made uh, non-disposable diapers for our child, which we were rewashing, and we really liked them. We bought it somewhere online from China. And I thought, I will buy like 50 or 100 of them and sell on eBay in Germany. And nobody bought. I just was bombarded by questions from potential clients asking which brand it is. Is it? I said, like, there is no brand. It's like, it's this and this, from China brand. And they didn't buy because they were looking for a brand thing for their
mm,
baby. So, and whenever I have some, for example, I bought something from Canon, which I didn't need, but I bought it in Spain, and I knew I'm traveling to Germany. So I decided I will wait until I travel in Germany, and I will sell that thing from Canon in German eBay, because I knew that Germans really value Canon things. I was not sure about Spanish people. So yeah, you cannot generalize in Europe, because Europe has, let's say, Eastern European countries, they are a little bit poorer, let's say, like it's cheaper, the services there, so they are used to pay less money for things. And so when we're talking about Amazon, selling on Amazon, there are 5 countries where Amazon is operating: France, Italy, UK, Germany, and Spain. So they are all Western kind of European countries, kind of developed countries, more or less. And still, I heard that Germans, for example, give reviews only when they are unhappy, but they would not give reviews when they are happy.
yeah,
I think France or Italy is known that they like to refund a lot, like to return,
yeah,
but
I've heard
I
that.
don't know the specifics. But yeah, every country is so different, and it's impossible to generalize most of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it's good though. These are helpful insights. So yeah, like you said, European Seller Conference and many other events you've done over the years for Amazon sellers and in general. I think payments and languages, I guess that's what one of the things with maybe selling on Amazon, people don't have to deal with too much, but maybe you can share some of the insights about how you do solve that, or how it's handled, or recommendations.
You mean when you do business transactions, how you transfer
Yeah,
money
like,
to another country?
multiple languages, currencies in Europe.
Yeah, so there is this IBAN. I don't know what's that exactly, but whenever I want to transfer money to another I think European Union country, there is IBAN, usually IBAN bank account number. And this IBAN is like, I think, 16 different numbers or something. So most of the time, I get just the name of the account holder and this unique IBAN number, and then I can transfer the money. But then, yeah, what do we do when we transfer different currencies?
Mm.
So obviously, if you use traditional banks, it will be quite expensive. Not super expensive like in US, I think, but they will ask additional fee for maybe transferring a different currency. But what I use for my business here is that like service like TransferWise is very good, and there are a few others, I think, which have multi-currency accounts, and converting different currencies between the currencies is quite quite with they charge very low fees.
Okay.
So and a lot of countries in European Union do have euros, so when you're transferring money from Spain to Lithuania, both countries have the same currency, and in some cases this money arrives like within the same day, and it's because it's the same currency. It's like even most of the traditional banks, euro transfers they make for free. So even if it's in another country.
Okay.
But yeah, if we talk about kind of bank transactions, if collecting payments, if you have here business of, I don't know, you want to sell tickets to your event or sell products, every country has its own kind of ways how they pay online. For example, in my home country, the cards from the banks are not so popular for paying online. Most of the people use so-called bank link. So there are systems where you go to the e-shop and you just, when you want to pay, you just connect to your bank, and it links to the bank and takes money from your bank. But for example, in Germany, PayPal is very often used as a payment, and cards. In Spain,
Okay.
I pay with cards most of the time. So, but yeah, sometimes it's quite complicated because
Mm.
different countries have different cultures of, let's say, paying for the services and
Yeah, I
so on.
know. I mean, it kind of goes to the next question. How do you see other sellers from, maybe US, Asia, or other big? How do you most likely see people do business in Europe? I mean, do they have to totally be local, setting up companies, all these places, or is there? I know you're not at maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that's not your
Yeah.
specialty, but what are you noticing? I don't, maybe not the best, maybe not tips, but just some insights that we could share
Okay.
about what
Yeah,
you
of course.
recommend.
Yeah, disclaimer, I'm not an advisor on
Yeah,
this
I know
thing,
we have a
but
disclaimer there, but
in general, of course, there are like differences what kind of products you want to sell, if it's a digital product or physical product, or digital can be also a service. And here very important role is played by VAT, like this VAT tax. VAT is value added tax. Each country has
yeah.
its own rate. For example, in Germany, it's 19%. Actually, now in 2020, between July and December, due to COVID, Germany lowered from 19 till 16%
Oh,
this tax for half a year.
okay.
So there are different rules how you pay this tax if you're having digital product and a product which is physical. So if it's physical for Amazon sellers, it's important to know that whenever you store your products physically in some country, you have to register to be a VAT payer in that country, and then you have to talk to your accountant in that country how it's all dealt. But it is possible to run business as, let's say, American or Asian company, and then you can register as a VAT payer. You can get VAT ID in the country you are operating. So if you want to store your physical products in 5 countries, like let's say with Amazon actually has warehouses in 7 countries. So if you want to use Amazon's Pan-EU program, where Amazon automatically distributes your products to their warehouses in 7 countries, then you not automatically, but before signing up for that program on Amazon, you have to organize yourself VAT IDs of 7 different countries, and usually you use there are some services like Simply VAT and some other companies which provide, they can organize for you this VAT ID. Of course, it will cost money and it will take time because you have to translate documents for each country in different language and with some legal stamps and everything. So VAT is very important. I noticed that European countries are very sensitive when they sense that a foreign business is trying to get away, not collecting VAT and bringing. Basically, when you sell a product, you collect VAT from your customer, and this VAT, this tax, you have to pay back to the country where this product is sold. It's not always where the product is sold. There are some different other rules, and also it depends if it is digital product or physical product and everything. But you can operate in Europe as a non-European country, as not non-European registered company, but make sure that you talk to European-based accountant to ask about these VAT rules and what do you need to do. Also, I said no, European-based accountant, but German accountant doesn't necessarily know. Probably they will not know anything about UK rules. So in whatever countries you will want to operate, you will have to talk to accountants in each country.
Yeah. Okay. I understand. Well, this has been great. I appreciate it. I mean, the point was just to give us some insights as Asia or non-European doing business there. Can you share a little bit about what you do and how people can find you and your events and other things?
Yeah, at the moment I focus a lot on creating content on YouTube channel, which is called Orange Klik. Klik is spelled with K's, Klik. It is there we have a lot of interviews with different experts and software. We have demos of different Amazon softwares, but whenever we can create events, we have kind of 3 types of events. One is European Seller Conference, which is happening in Prague in every March, and we invite not only Europeans to come, we have people coming from Europe and Asia as well. This is kind of annual event. We want to make it the biggest in Europe. And then next one is PPC Congress. It's very specific and designed specially for PPC enthusiasts, Amazon PPC enthusiasts. And we had already one event 1 year ago almost in Amsterdam. And people we had Amazon sellers, PPC agencies, and also PPC software providers in that event. And we are looking forward to create a second one and to make it annual. And another events we do they're called Seller Fest. So Seller Fest is more event in a specific country. Let's say we did one in Lithuania, we did one in Israel. So bringing international Amazon experts to local communities of different European countries. Later probably we'll do event not only in Europe, but Seller Fest is more like local event for local community, to especially like in the countries where they don't have Amazon events. So that's the idea. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. It's been insightful, and I learned a few things about Europe now for my expansion. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike, and see you later.
Take care.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and also check out our Instagram at Global from Asia. Thanks again, and see you soon.
E-commerce, like over 8 years.